How y'all doing? Thank you all for coming. This is how to get a job in the video game industry, and then how to then you can sit up on the panel, and then next year you can tell your story, okay? The byline actually makes a lot of sense because there's some myths and misconceptions about the video game business. You actually don't get to play games that much. There's some, but we'll tell you all about it. My name is Francis Mao, and I work for Capcom, and everybody up here also works for Capcom, but this is not a Capcom panel. It just happens to be all my colleagues that I wrangled to come on this panel, and what we want to do is give back. Most of our other panels are promotional panels, right? Telling about the games and how cool it is and go buy it. This is really just a round table. We're going to tell you our stories, how we got into the business, and hopefully give some insight for you guys because you all have an interest maybe doing the same thing, right? So the top two questions I always get is always, number one, can I get some free games, right? But number two is, how can I get your job, right? How can I get into business? And this happens so much, so that's why over the years, I mean, we've given this panel probably like 10 times now. We've given it at WonderCon and the other Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, right? And it's become very, very successful, and actually the crowds get larger and larger. What also has been very enriching is the fact that we have alumni that will come back years later, and they're like, hey, I did get a job, and it really did work. So hopefully this will work for you too, okay? So moving on. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of us on this panel, but you're going to get a taste of all the different areas that's in the video game business. The most obvious one's obviously to make the game, right? But that's only a fraction of really what goes into the biz. There's so many avenues. So if you're not a hotshot artist, if you're not a super programmer, you're still going to find a job. There's plenty of things to do. And this is just, I would like to call the fun stuff, right? There's also accounting, legal, HR, right? Stuff like that, right? But we didn't want to bring those guys because they're boring. Anyway, just keeping it real. Just keeping it real, right? So,
sign my check.
Well, this is true. This is true. This is true. The guy who works at Dillon's, he's pretty good too. But, so the answer we always give everybody is, in the video game industry, even though it's been around, since the 80s now, the home video game industry at least, right? It's still relatively young. It's not like, the newspaper business or the magazine publishing business or even the movie business or the music business where it's really set in and there's certain things you got to do, right? There is, especially in this day and age of apps and, garage programming and making games, it's an exciting time. But the one thing, there really is no one best way. What's cool now, though, in the past 10 years or so, there's DigiPen and there's all these different courses you can get in colleges. But those are still primarily also for programming, right? So here's just a sampling of how everybody on this panel got their jobs. And as you can see, they're all rather non-traditional, okay? So we'll explain what these all mean. So I'll start with me. Yeah, my name is Francis, and right now I'm the Senior Director of Creative Services Events at Capcom. How I got into the video game business is I entered an art contest. So way, way, way back, I'm really old, so way, way, way back. But I always wanted to be a comic book artist, and at one time I actually did some early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. I did some short stories for Marvel and DC, and then I realized penciling a page for about 2 days straight in my room, not getting any sunlight, meeting any people, wasn't that much fun, right? So I started going to law school, of all things, because I thought I'd be a lawyer. Sucked at being a lawyer, failing out because I was always reading comics or I was playing video games. So one day I go into Toys R Us and I think I bought Contra, the original Contra for the NES. That's how old I am. That was May of '89. Anyways, they dropped a copy of GamePro #1. Anybody remember GamePro magazine?
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you. R.I.P. Rest in peace. But in the back of it, there was an art contest. Win $100. Draw your favorite comic book villain. I'm like, cool. I can use the money. I need it for school. I need it to eat. I sent in this big airbrush, drawing like 20 different characters and all that. Sent it in. Didn't think about it. 2 weeks later, I get a call from GamePro magazine. I was like, cool. Did I win the contest? They're like, no, fool, this contest is for little kids with crayons. Right? I sent this gorgeous piece, right? So I was like, well, you're going to use it? And they're like, yeah, we like it. So they paid me like $300 at the time. They used it for some promotional purposes. From that, we established a relationship. I started doing some stories for them. Before law school, I actually went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I was a journalism and literature, English literature major, so I knew how to write. I could put a couple sentences together. So I started writing reviews for them, doing drawings, and then within 6 issues, they called me up and said, hey, we got a job opening. You good with the Mac? You know how to design pages on a computer? I'm like, sure, no problem, right? Went out, quit law school, went out, and never looked back. So that's how I got into the industry. But at GamePro, I did a lot of stuff. I was there for 17 years. Started issue 2, left issue 242, right? In that time, I started as the associate art director. We would design the pages. In those days, we still paste up, glue the pages together, and then we got into desktop publishing. But then I also became the editorial director. And then Chris down there will actually talk some more about editorial because he's younger than me and he'll give you something more relevant. But the thing about editorial, design is one thing. You have to know how to do layouts and how to work with Photoshop and things like that. And I have design folks who talk about that. Editorial, too, at that point, everyone plays games and everyone has an opinion. But to work for a magazine, it's different. What did you think of GTA 3, right? It sucked. Well, why did it suck? Or it was great. Why is it great? You got 300 words. You owe me the article at the end of the day. It has to be perfect. So that's the stuff I learned in that business. Moving on, I moved through the ranks there, and then I became the SVP of the whole company, and then we started doing ancillary business. We started E3. Anybody heard of E3, right? Yeah. So we started that monstrosity out there. We also did cross promotions with Best Buy. We had a TV show, GamePro TV. We made a line of products. We made a bunch of action figures that I can't even find upstairs. Nobody wants those. But it was really, really fun because it was a chance to dabble in other things, which helped me now when I moved on to Capcom, right? So at Capcom now, as the head of creative services, we produce all the packaging, we produce all the items, promotional items that you see, those Darkstalkers, the headbands you're wearing, the t-shirts you may be getting, things like that. I work with a crack team where we get the assets from Japan and we'll repurpose it and use it for PLP displays for Walmart, things like that. And then also I'm in charge of events, which is the fun part because we throw, have you guys been to the Capcom booth, right? You got a chance to see it? That monstrosity, right? We got to get all the, work with the unions and the laborers and build the booth, all those giant graphics, get all the demo stations, and do programming and panels like this for you wonderful folks. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's, as you see, there's a whole smattering of stuff which we'll talk about more, but there's a lot of different things you can do in the business, and I'll shut up and we'll move on to our next speaker, okay? And also let you know, after we're all done, we'll have Q&As and we can wrap some more, okay? Next up, Matt.
All right, hello everybody. So I'm Matt Dahlgren. I'm a senior product manager at Capcom. I work on the strategy team. That means that I'm the main contact that communicates with our R&D teams, and I set the overall marketing strategy for our titles, and then produce all the campaign assets that you see. Then I pass things over to our territory teams, some of whom you're going to hear from in a second, and then they execute things. As far as how I got my job, I think I took kind of an interesting path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do once I got out of high school. I went to college mainly just because, I thought I was supposed to, but I didn't really go for any specific purpose. I didn't have a vision of what I wanted to do. And as such, I didn't last very long. So I dropped out my junior year, and I don't think that's a good advice to give you on how to get into the industry, but there's something to be said that it's okay to not really know what you want to do and to take some time and not just go through the motions and really focus on what you want to do. So I dropped out of college. I knew that I liked video games. That was my #1 passion. And they always say you're supposed to make your passion your profession, so I wanted to figure out how to get into it. One of the my biggest passion was fighting games. I played fighting games my whole life growing up. And I started organizing my own tournaments. And I think that's actually a really good thing to do because you're actually community building and you're getting to know people and you're actually producing something. And it shows people that you're a hardcore gamer. So I used that experience to get my first job as a video game tester. So once I got my foot in the door, basically I just knew some other friends from Sony, passed my resume along, showed all the stuff I did in the community, and so got in there. I did that for about 2 years, and then I actually was able to leverage my community experience to move over into marketing. I'd say video game testing normally will lead you more into development than it does into marketing, but for me I was able to leverage the fighting game experience to go over into marketing. I took a community manager position at IDOS. I was working on the game 25 to Life. It was not a very good game. It was a very difficult game to build a community on, but it got me into marketing. And once I got into marketing, I was able to kind of learn the business from the inside, pay attention to what people were doing, and then it's kind of just gone from there. I did community for a couple of years, then I got to know the PR team, and community and PR work really closely together. I did PR for about a year after that, but I decided I wanted to be more involved. I wanted to really kind of push the product and have more of a say in what happens. I like to be in the driver's seat, and then made the jump over to marketing, or into product marketing. After that, that's where I am now. That's my story, and I'll pass it along to Christine.
Hello, my name is Christine Converse. I am the project manager for the marketing department, and I work with creative services. This is my boss, Francis. And yes, the people who are wearing the commie hats, Darkstalkers hats, that's what we do. We take all the graphics, we put it into a template, and we make cool things, posters, banners, packaging. Basically go to our Capcom booth and look around, that's what we do. So my job as project manager is to make sure that I get all of the assets, I get everything on time, we follow the schedule, we do it under budget, and pass everything to the graphic designer, who you'll be hearing from shortly, Liz. How I got into the video game industry, it's a weird tale. I was in college, I was a role-playing gamer, so I don't know if anybody else here knows 20-Sided Die. Thank you. Okay. I was a fan of a game store at the local mall, the Gamekeeper. So we go way back, actually, Francis and I. So I went in to do some Christmas shopping. Went over to the Dungeons and Dragons area, picked up a campaign, looking for something good for my friends. Somebody taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, have you played that campaign?" "Well, no, I haven't." "Oh, but you like role-playing games, right?" "Why, yes, Neil Patrick Harris, I do." So we chatted for a little bit, talked about role-playing games. That was his big thing at the time. The manager of the store came over and said, "Do you need help with anything?" We asked questions about the campaign, and he said, "Well, you know, if you're interested in it, you can just come over. We do this one every Friday." I was like, sure. Neil had other obligations, unfortunately, but ended up making some new friends through role-playing games. And one of those friends happened to be the QA manager for an old company called Strategic Simulations that did PC testing. So I ended up, my first job was in QA, and I have to say, that is the department to be in, yes. Because in QA, you have two branches you can go. You can go to product development, or you can go into marketing. Being in QA, you are so useful, because a lot of people don't have a chance to sit down and play the game. They've got accounting to do, they've got legal to do. But you're the person who gets to sit there, and you get to help out the programmers by finding the problems with the game. You get to make suggestions on how the game can get better. And you get to help the marketing people figure out what makes this game interesting and how to put the packaging together. And that's the place where you can say, yes, I can. Even if you've never done it before, if somebody asks you, hey, I need help with this thing, can you do it? The answer is, yes, I can. If you don't know how to do it, go home for the weekend, read a book, ask some questions, learn to program. Yes, I can. So that's how I ended up getting into Cluebooks, because as the lead tester for a game called The Summoning, I was the person who could play it the fastest. I knew where everything was in the game, and guess who needed help writing a clue book? Yes, I can write a clue book. So, 300-page book later, that led me to working at Sega in the QA department. Guess who needed help at Sega Visions? writing articles because they need help with people who had played the games at Sega, which eventually led to writing strategy guides for Prima Publishing and Brady Publishing, and it just goes on from there. You depending on what your interests are, that's your chance to reach out to somebody, ask questions, be available wherever you can help. So that is my advice. The answer is yes, I can do that. You need the help, I'm there. And that's my story.
Yeah, be brave.
Yes, I can tell you my story too. Hi, my name is Sandy Ferreira, and I am the Senior Manager of Channel Marketing at Capcom. I too have been in this industry for what appears to be a lifetime, probably longer than most of you have been alive, I'm sad to say, but it's true. So what channel marketing is simply put, it's a liaison between sales and our retail buyers, as well as our marketing teams. And I'm responsible for, if you go into a store and you see any kind of Capcom game signage there, I negotiated that program with our sales team and our buyers, and then I work with Christine and Liz as well to get the art set up and created to send it to our retailers. Any pre-order programs that may entice you to pre-order a game at key retailers or online is something I'm responsible for as well. So I have a really fun job that's involved with every single game that Capcom ships, and I love what I do. I started my career at 3DFX, which back in the day was competitor to NVIDIA, graphics accelerator card company, moved on to EA, spent some time at LucasArts and Sega, and now I'm very, very happy to be at Capcom for the last couple of years. So how did I end up at 3DFX? Well, my motto is sometimes the best thing is it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And I had a new boss. I was in that boring job Francis described of finance, and I had a new boss who sat me down for a one-on-one and said, Sandy, how do you like your job? How do you like what you're doing? And I was having one of those days, and I just said, you know what? I don't like what I'm doing. I don't want to do it anymore. And we had this long conversation about what I wanted to do, and she happened to have a friend who just joined the startup company of 3DFX. She made the referral, I had the interview, and I got the job. So talk to your friends, talk to people you know. If you find a job on a website that you know, publisher's website, Capcom, Sega, whoever it happens to be, go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, search the company, see if you have any shared friends that know people at those companies, or even someone that works there, and get the referral that way. So it's not always what you know, but who you know definitely can get you in the door. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. Moving on, Liz.
Hello. Unlike these fine folks here, I'm relatively new to the industry, so sorry guys. So I'm actually a graphic designer at Capcom. I'm lucky enough to work with very experienced people that you just heard from. Anyone here wearing the Okami hats right now? Or have the Okami hats? I saw a few. Just, we'll pretend some of you guys have it. So the hats that you're wearing right now are actually something that I designed. So those are the things that I do and I help Francis with is we think of promotional ideas for shows like this, where we go, okay, what kind of things can we give away for fans? Hats. Like, we always see people wearing hats, and it would be a great way to promote our product, and I'm sure everyone's going to get a kick out of wearing Darkstalker wings, or a giant Okami head, or a shirt with that, you know, what it does, whatever. So I helped design that. All the posters you see, I helped design that. Graphics you see at the booth, I do that. Anything you see on the Capcom's websites, I sometimes help with that. Packaging is a big thing that I do, so all the things that you see at the store, at GameStop, the front of the pack, all that stuff, I help lay out and design. Christine gives me the assets that she receives from Japan, and then I put it in templates, and then I send it off for approvals, and then go from there. So how did I get lucky and get into the video game industry? Well, I was looking for an internship. I was working at Starbucks at the time, and decided, you know, all my friends are graduating, I really need to figure out what I want to do, and I knew that I've always wanted to be a veterinarian, but I always realized, or found the love of designing stuff. I used to play a game called Neopets. Yes, I'll call myself out on that. And I used to create storefronts and pet pages and everything. I helped out with my guild all the time, and I actually made Neopoints off of it. So then I was like, I really enjoy playing with Photoshop. It's a really fun program that I kept messing around with. I had no formal training. I never went to school for it. I tried to be a graphic design major, but my dad insisted, you're never going to find a job doing graphic design. You're never going to make money. So of course, as I went to San Jose State, and that school is full of Asians doing business, so I decided to be a marketing. What was that?
You can say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I decided to be a marketing major at San Jose State. So I'm finishing that up. I have one class left. I'll be done by December. Hopefully, I'll be hired on full-time as a full-time graphic designer. Thank you. So yeah, so I asked my sister, just like Sandy was saying, ask around. I asked my sister, hey, I'm looking for an internship. I'm really interested in doing design. She goes, hey, you know what? I have a friend her friend's sister is actually working at Capcom, and I know that they're looking for an intern right now in their creative services department. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I put together my resume really quick, gave it to her, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was waiting. I'm like, you know what? They're not calling me back, but
I was playing games, I was too busy.
So like a few months passed, and I'm like, I kind of gave up hope, but then they were like, I got a phone call, and they said, hey, are you still interested in being an intern at Capcom? I'm like, yes. And so she goes, well, why don't you come down whatever day, and you'll start. I'm like, that was it. Like, I didn't get any interview. They just was like, hey, come on in, and you're in. So I kind of lucked out with that one, which is my next point is it's more of a right place, right time. Don't give up, even though I kind of slightly gave up, but just keep being persistent, but don't be too overly persistent, if you know what I mean. Just, keep submitting your resume, keep looking at the job boards, use LinkedIn, use Craigslist, talk to people, network with people at the show, come talk to us afterwards, If you frequent these shows a lot, just keep coming back, because we do remember faces, like Francis says. We do see a lot of regulars that come back, and some succeed in finding a job, and some just, want to chit-chat and network, which is totally fine with me.
Right.
And I think my last point says stay in school, which I already pointed out. So.
What programs do you use?
Oh yeah, so I have a story. I'm working off 5 hours of sleep. So I started off only knowing Photoshop. And like Christine says, always say, yes, I'll do that. So my assignments were, hey, I need you to use Illustrator and InDesign. Okay, I can do that. Google is a very helpful friend. So I kept Googling. I was too embarrassed and scared to ask, hey, how do I do this? Although I learned later on working at Capcom, don't be afraid to ask questions. The best advice I learned from working at GameStop, when I worked at GameStop, was it's better to ask questions than to waste time trying to figure it out. So I kind of gradually learned and increased my skills in Illustrator and InDesign, and just wanted to point out that yeah, graphic design is fun. It's a really fun job to do, but there are difficulties and walls we hit.
Tell them the horror story.
So recently, Resident Evil 6. Everyone knows that game, right?
You know what? Let's just do a really loud cheer for Resident Evil 6 and interrupt there. Ready? Resident Evil 6! Yeah! Now they're all like, oh, we're the wrong panel, we should be on this one. This is the fun one.
Yes, Resident Evil 6 was an interesting project. We didn't have much time to design the packaging for that. We got assets late. Not only did we get it late, but when we put it together, so when we put things together, we had to submit it for approval through Japan, through the product managers, through legal, through I don't know what else, ESRB, thank you.
First party.
And that's just in the US, that's just North America. We also have to do it for Brazil, we have to do it for Europe. So it's a very long process that Christine has to deal with, so she's a great person to work with. I don't know how she keeps a calm and straight face at work. I'm always stressing out. But, so you think they would only come back with one edit and you'll be done, but there's actually, I think we went through like 10 revisions. And so once we were like, okay, we finally figured out what we wanted to do, submitted it for print, then we get color prints back, or proofs back, right? Well, color proofs, you're supposed to just check on the color, but then we realized, oh, there's actually, mistakes here and there. The logo wasn't big enough, we wanted to make it bigger. We realized that the logo wasn't bright enough, so we had to change the color on that. And so then we had to submit it again through approvals through CJ and ESRB and all the other legal checks and stuff. So let's just say the last couple of months have been hell for me, but I'm very grateful to have the experience of doing something like this, because as an intern at a normal company, you would never touch large projects like this. My first day on the job, I had to do something for Resident Evil 5, and like that's unheard of to touch a AAA title on your first day of the job. Usually you run and get coffee with people, right? Or
I was too busy playing games.
But anyways, that's my story. Francis insisted me telling you the story.
Well, the thing is also the thing, because I can, because I have my art background too, is if you want to do graphic design in like a marketing department for like Capcom or EA or anybody else, it's different than classic graphic design. So, I've interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people for these type of art positions through the years. I get gorgeous portfolios, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I look at it, I'm just so jealous of the talent. But the thing is, that portfolio is something maybe the guy spent a whole semester on. That's the cream of the crop, right? What happens though is, when in our business, and especially in the magazine business, it's all based on how fast and productive you are. So it could be like, here's 4 dockets, here's 4 stories or 4 articles you got to design. Each one's got to look different, and it's got to be done in the next 8 hours. Because we ship these out to the printer at 5 o'clock, and you got to deliver. So it's graphic design. I mean, your talent is important, but it's also the speed and efficiency, as well as no errors, no typos, and things like that. It's able to churn it out, day after day after day. So what Liz brought up is like, if you look at the RE6, packaging, please go buy it at GameStop. But I had to do a sell somewhere. But if you look at it, it looks like it's rather simple. There's a logo, there's a couple screenshots on the back, how many players, and UPC code, right? And a bunch of gobbledygook legal. But in reality, like you said, it goes through so many rounds. You have to have the patience that perhaps a classical graphic person that likes to do design would be frustrated in, is to realize the industry and the expectations that you're heading into. Okay, so anyways.
And stay organized.
Yeah, organized. So moving on, Mr. Rodriguez.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? My name is Mark Rodriguez.
He's a New Yorker?
Yes.
From Brooklyn?
I'm one of the few in the West Coast that can get away with rocking this hat, so.
That's right.
My name is Mark Rodriguez. I'm the new Associate Manager of Content Analysis for the Capcom USA branch of, it's a weird jargon, but basically I am a QA guy that is trying to make our games as best as they can be. Better than the best is what we strive for. So I just started this new role as of October 1st, so please don't blame me for anything prior to that. Come up to me and ask me about what I've been doing recently with this latest go-round for Comic-Con is basically evaluating what you guys think about our recent releases, what we can do better, what we can do to better serve you as consumers, as gamers. A little bit of background about myself. Yes, I'm a native New Yorker. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm staying with my mom in Williamsburg right now. My mom's still over there. She's cooking me rice and beans.
That's right.
I went to school in Brooklyn, grew up there. I went to state school, I went to Stony Brook University. Shout out to all the SUNY Stony Brook, any SUNY people here. Anybody from New York, I went to college in New York State School. I studied philosophy and Latin American Caribbean studies.
That was useful.
Yes. So it doesn't matter what you do with your degree, get a degree. Because you can do whatever you want to do if you have that paper. So don't let anyone stop you. I know Matt told you earlier on, he followed his dream and he did what he did. Sometimes you get those hiccups. I know a lot of people that get those hiccups, but they finish strong, and that's what counts. So like Matt, like Christine, I started in QA out of college. I was desperate to go to California. I was going to do anything possible, so I graduated in 2005. A lot of my fraternity brothers didn't know what I was going to do. They kept asking me, what are you going to do? You have a philosophy degree. And I'm like, I could walk the earth. I could try and be a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or something. A lot of my family was in all my family's in the Board of Education. So I have teachers and guidance counselors and paras and everybody. So I was like, I can't really do that, because if I stood in the classroom and said the wrong thing to the wrong kid, I don't want to be that responsible for things. So I'd rather be responsible for fun things. I think education is the best thing anyone can ever do, so I strive for that and I strive to learn, and that's what my job is about. My job is about learning the most I can from the consumer, because I am a consumer. So what I did for 5 years at Rockstar was basically work my way up from a beta tester to a game analyst to a project lead to a lead analyst, and then moved on to Capcom 2 years ago as a QA lead, which basically means instead of doing all the testing, I managed all the testers. So it gave me a little bit more time to see things from a little bit more of a managerial level, see what I did wrong as a tester, and try and improve the testing methods, try to find new ways to find defects and bugs in the game, try and help people to understand that it's not about just bug counts and trying to find the most issues or defects wrong. It's about steering the quality of the game to be something that's in line with the company's goals, with the designer's goals, with the director's goals, the producers, the developers, everything. So I worked on everything from 2005 to 2010 at Rockstar. I came to Capcom, worked on everything between 2008 and 2010 and 2012. I can't really ask.
So you didn't catch that hot coffee, the whole thing?
No, I came in after that, which changed the game for me, because...
Oh, okay. You guys know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Well, it changed the game. Here's the thing. Coming from that place, which it was the best and worst times of my life, because I managed to not have a weekend or a vacation for 5 years of my life, because I was in the office doing everything possible to make these titles as bug-free. And if you know any of the titles that shipped from there, they are massive and they are an undertaking. And everything that we work in at Capcom, we try to strive for that same work ethic and that same drive to make games better. So moving on to Capcom, I realized my dream of moving to California, moving to the San Francisco Bay Area is amazing. Go Niners, go A's, go A's, go Giants. Even though I'm a Met fan. Thank you. Yankees are good too, but I love you. I got love for anything New York. So, but no. Being at Capcom was great for me, so I just want to tell everybody, as Sandy said and Christine said, hit me up on LinkedIn, match with anyone up here will give you advice on any particular role you want to fill for your dreams and your goals in this industry, which is growing at an exponential rate. So I wouldn't be surprised if 80 to 90% of you guys walk out here and hopefully become inspired to do whatever you want to do in your respective industry. So if you want to leave here and be a graphic artist, but not be a graphic artist for games, and you want to get into art, whatever, at least you take something away from our experience and our sort of, I guess, know-how and the stuff that we've done for years to come. So that's pretty much it. I think I went over my time. I'm done, right?
Good. Thank you.
I'm good. Here's Mike Lund.
Moving on. Here's Mike, who's not from New York.
No, not from New York.
Yeah!
I'm actually from the opposite. This is really loud. The opposite of New York. I'm actually from the middle of nowhere in Illinois. Just kind of for the story. Starting off, I'm actually the marketing coordinator for the North American territory, which is Canada, Brazil, US, Mexico. So a little bit more than the US. Basically what we do is we work with all these fine folks here, strategy, marketing, we have product, we have creative services, Francis, we have all these guys in community as well. Not to list any names, but creating all-encompassing marketing plans, promotional plans, whether it be making stuff for events, whether it be the hats that you're wearing, making POP displays with you guys, doing packaging stuff with Liz, community plans with you guys as well, doing all of our streaming content. Basically, making big marketing promotional boom around all fronts to make sure the game is seen, people are excited and know it's coming. So I'm pretty new. I'm probably 3.5 years into Capcom. This is my first job in the industry. First job out of college, actually. So my story starts a little bit before, probably, I want to say 2004, just getting into college. Really didn't know, I was in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. Really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was a huge gamer, a huge Capcom fan. But I wanted to get into games, really didn't know how to do it. So, like a bunch of people, I don't know, I'm not good at programming. I tried that thing. Tried graphic design. That was kind of one thing. There was a couple of specialty schools in Iowa or something. And looked into those. Didn't end up really panning out that well, so I just kind of did the motions, going through college for a couple of years, exploring different degrees. Did anything from electrical engineering to music performance, played classical guitar for a couple of years, to education, to business administration, to finance. So I was wavering all over the place. Ended up in a school in Wisconsin with a business degree with emphasis in finance. Unfortunately, had the displeasure of graduating in about 2008 when the financial meltdown was happening. So finding an internship, which I actually had to get my degree, kind of a challenge at that time. Searching through the summer of 2009, early 2009, around May, like I mentioned, impossible to find an internship, and I had to have that to get my degree. Finally found something just like surfing the internet at home. It was an investor relations position at Activision, and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Video games? Like, get back into that way. Super excited, super energized. What I noticed is, like, rather than working in banking and investments and stuff like that, I was motivated. Like, I'm calling this lady, I still remember her name, HR, Claudia Franco at Activision. She never responded. I never talked to her my entire life, but like she made an impression on me because it's like, how do you not answer my calls, respond to my emails, kind of thing. Stalker. I know. If she's out there, I'm sorry for annoying. But being persistent is key for sure. I ended up from there kind of being energizing. Like, you know what? I think gaming is going to be good for me because I'm getting super excited, getting super passionate about what I want to do. But then again, I really didn't have. I had a business degree, a finance degree. So am I going to do finance? What's going to go here? I actually found a couple internship postings up on Capcom, up on Activision, applied to Microsoft and Sony, just kind of spanned the gamut. Ended up not really hearing back from just about anybody, but kept with it, kept following up and stuff like that. But it was kind of like, as a gamer, like, you know, on the forums all the time, all the community blogs, talking with random people about, you know, what game came out, is it cool, is it bad, is it good, what should I buy? And ended up on a forum called Off Topic where they had a small gaming forum, not a really big. But it was right around when Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix came out, and some guy was talking about the game quite a bit. He's like, yeah, I'm a producer over at Capcom, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, I applied there a couple months ago. It's like for this, you know, internship position. Where they're like, well, I see you're from Illinois. I don't know if they exactly take you all the way out here just for an internship position. But I was like, come on. He should have badgered him. I'm sorry. He still works at Capcom. His name is Ray. He's still one of the producers with us. But eventually I just like, well, when it comes down to it, it's like, can you at least like hook my resume up with someone who's going to look at it? I know they get tons of resumes a day, all of our HR people, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. Just get a lot of people just asking for jobs. How do I get your job, kind of thing. A couple weeks later, got a call from our former director of marketing, Mike, just basically like, hey, we'd like you to come down. And I was living in Illinois at the time. I was actually not be in a hospital, but I was at a hospital, and I was kind of freaking out because I couldn't get reception. I got a phone message. It's basically like, hey, we want you to come down to California and work in video games. And I was like, freaking out. So, kind of a life achievement unlocked there. I packed up all my stuff in my car, and like literally 2 days later, like I'm ready to go. I have not really tied down to much here. I'm excited to kind of go pursue my dream. Drove all the way from Illinois to California, which took about 3 full days of 12-hour driving. Got a lot to see around the country. It's pretty flat going there, but yeah, no, Nebraska is not a good one to drive through. There's not even corn there. But from there, I started as an intern, working on just basic marketing stuff, doing research, working on little bits of campaigns, like projects divided up. I actually worked with Matt, where I jumped on for the first time. Worked on anything from Mega Man to Sengoku Basara to Bind a Commando, Dead Rising, Street Fighter a little bit, and then now mainly focused. The last project I worked on was Resident Evil 6. So available now. Available now. Thank you, Fenton. Sorry, he's helping us a lot here. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing. I still think it's amazing what I've done. It may not seem much to you, but it's one thing where it's kind of staying passionate, realizing your dream, like never give up. It also helps, and you guys have mentioned a bunch of times too, just kind of like talk to us. It really helps who you know. Sandy kind of pushed on that a lot, but talk to us at conventions. You guys got a great opportunity. I never had this living in the middle of nowhere growing up to come out here and talk with people about living in the video games or working in the video game industry. Or living. It is pretty much living. It seems like sleeping under your desk sometimes. But basically, yeah, just stay connected, talk with us on social media. Definitely, you have a great opportunity to talk with us at the booth over here, and just like stay connected, stay passionate, and you'll end up getting what you want. So,
Okay.
with that, I'm going to pass it to Chris.
So Chris is one of the newest members of the Capcom team, just joined recently. Chris.
Yeah, I've only been here a couple of weeks, and I basically got this job through luck and knowing people, but I'm going to fall back on the questions I got when I worked editorial because I knew no one and had no experience, and it's kind of applicable to anything you do. But you know, right now I work at Capcom Unity, I post videos, make videos, streams, articles, like basically exactly what I did in the games journalism business, but I walk the Capcom beat. But how I got in the business, I got an internship. Pretty much everybody will hire you if you work for free. Work for free, seriously, like an internship will get you in the door almost anywhere you never thought was possible. So I did that. I got a degree in English with no aspirations to go write for video game magazines before. There's none of those there. And I got an internship. Turns out I'm okay at this, I can do that. But everybody wants to write about video games. And nobody wants to leave their position writing about video games. So it was sort of like, what I did is to make myself irreplaceable is look for holes. And this is like 05, 06. Nobody knows what social media is. Nobody knows what a podcast is. Nobody wants to jump in front of the camera and talk. So I did all of those things. I have no experience in any of them, no formal training, but this video, no look right, into Google eventually will teach you how to do exactly what you need to do. So I made myself irreplaceable. It's like you can hire somebody else to write reviews, but you're going to lose your podcast, you're going to lose your videos, you're going to lose the guy talking to your community because, not to throw them under the bus, they're a magazine company. They think if they respond to one letter, we're done here, right? You don't talk anymore. No, you just talk to people, but I just like working, and if you're tenacious enough to stay with something, find a gap to fill, odds are someone will end up hiring you because you can do the job of 3 or 4 people, and I've been doing it long enough to where like I can do most of the stuff fairly easy. I didn't say great, but
Next year, actually, this panel will just be Chris sitting here.
Yeah. But I'm gunning for Carl's job, who is up next on the panel, so that's how
Oh my God.
What?
That's why Carl's on the edge there. Moving on.
Francis assures me that he's saving the big guns till last, but I'm not entirely convinced. So I'm representing the United Kingdom. Hello. Are there any English in the audience? I saw one hand. No, I'm the only Englishman in the room, and coincidentally, I'm the only Englishman in the Capcom office as well.
Do you like Doctor Who?
Apparently, I have to like all things British. Matt is convinced that I eat tea and crumpets for breakfast every day, which is absolutely true. Our time is short, so I'll try and be as quick as I can. So my career started in the UK.
Actually, we're good.
Oh, we're good?
Yeah, take your time.
In which case, I'll be really slow and extend.
So English.
So English. So, let me get comfortable, tell you a story. I went to university, which was nice. It was the north of the UK, so it's quite cold. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, very much like a lot of these members of the panel, but I had a huge passion for video games. Despite my parents wanting me to go into engineering, I thought, no, I'm going to stick to what I know. So I tried my hand at programming. So I thought, yeah, I can do this. Programming's a doddle. Had a good background in maths, so I went to university and started studying programming, specifically for games. So it was a university specifically geared up towards getting people into the industry. 3 years later, I soon realised that I wasn't the world's best programmer, and my strengths were elsewhere. But very much like Mark, I finished strong.
Yeah.
And finished strong. So I finished my degree, which I was really pleased with. Had a great time. I would encourage everybody to stay in school if they can and finish up. It was a fantastic experience. So from there, as I said, all of my peers were fantastic. Like everybody in my class was doing these amazing things. I was like, oh Jesus, what am I going to do? I'm stuffed. So I tried my hand at QA. So as for many of these people, that was sort of the foot in the door to the industry. And again, I would very much encourage anybody who gets an opportunity to do it, to try it for sure. It can be a lifelong career, as Mark has made it through the ranks. or for many it can be a foot in the door to numerous other divisions of gaming. And again, I think in summary from what all the panelists have said, it's a super, super small industry, and all of our departments work really, really closely together. And that was the case for me whilst I was in QA for a company called Jagex. I don't know if you guys have played RuneScape, that weird browser-based MMO. Yeah, I can see some hands, it's really weird. So, the first year and a half of my career was spent talking about why Zezima has lost his sword in some obscure forest, and I thought, no, this definitely isn't for me. So I tried my hand, or slowly got my hand into different departments. So again, it's having that can-do attitude. Like, even if you can't do it, you definitely can do it. Yeah, I can do this thing. Senior Vice President? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. But no, seriously, if you don't think you can do something, Google is your friend. You definitely can do something. So I tried my hand at almost every department that would let me. So I started working in community department and quickly found my way into the world of community. And then from there, managed to find my way, coincidentally, into the world of marketing, which is where I am now. So it's really hard. Being in this industry is really hard. It's not as glamorous as you might all like to think. I was before I left to join Codemasters, I was still working in QA at Jagex, and we were in crunch, like big time. I was the first person in the office every morning at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'd open the office, I'd be the first person there. And one morning I set the alarm off and I had to explain to the police what I was doing at a games company at 4 o'clock in the morning by myself, with milk and porridge in hand, ready for breakfast. So by no means is it as glamorous as we all like to think it is, and I'm sure all of these guys can attest to that. So now I'm working in the marketing department. I was in Codemasters back in the UK for a little while, working on Operation Flashpoint and Dirt and Grid and all those great franchises there. And that's where the majority of my working knowledge from marketing came from. And again, be an eternal, again to Mark's point, be an eternal student. Always make sure you're learning, even if it's formal or informal. I went back to get a formal marketing qualification because I didn't have any. My background was in programming. Make sure that you're, even if it's not a formal education, make sure you're always learning from someone. Just pester someone, get feedback from someone. You don't always know everything there is to know. There's always things to improve upon. What else? Oh, so there wasn't really much from the panel, because there isn't any here, from a production standpoint, and I know there's probably some programmers and a lot of indie developers out there. I hate to promote other people's, but the Greenlight program by Steam is fantastic. Make your own job. How cool is that? How many industries can you say, oh, I'm going to go out and make my own job today. I'm going to create something so fantastic that people are going to want to buy it without having even got their hands on it. It's a rare opportunity. So, if development is something you're interested in, get heavily involved in that Greenlight program. There are some absolutely fantastic titles on there, and I think that will continue to grow over and over. And again, another plug for Steam. There was a recent, you can get your pen and paper out now to write this down. There was a guy called Chris Fazalek, I believe his name was. He's a guy from Steam, and recently he gave a fantastic presentation, very similar to this, on how to get into the industry. And it was very focused on the development side of things. It was hosted by Eurogamer, so I'm sure the Google machine will do all of the work for you there. But yeah, definitely check that out to get more of an insight into the world of games development. I think that's about it, Francis.
Other than Carl's brand that he's working right now is DMC.
Oh, here comes the plug.
It's available January 15th.
On which platforms, Francis?
Xbox and PS3.
And where can you pre-order the game from, Francis?
GameStop and everywhere.
Absolutely. You can pre-order the game on Amazon, GameStop and Best Buy.
There you go.
Sandy and I have been working tirelessly on providing you with the best pre-order assets and packaging. Oh, sorry, hang on. I'll get to that. With the best pre-order items. We've got some fantastic pre-order weapons for DMC. Please come down to the booth, get hands on. I know there's a lot of skeptics in the audience, but why is Dante's hair a different colour? Yes, there are some excellent assets due out. We've got a DMC panel as well. Come to that on Sunday. Make sure you check your schedules. You won't be disappointed. And yes, please, please, please. What? Oh, don't start. So we call sweaters jumpers. So I was in the office the other week and I was like, oh, I'm really hot, I'm going to have to take my jumper off. And these lot are like, what are you talking about? And then we had a conversation about wellies. Nobody knows what a wellie is. That's a galosher, apparently. So Wellington boots are galoshes here. That was another complete... I really struggle in America.
We love girls.
I really struggle. I am the... Which one now? I love macaroni cheese. I'm the token Englishman, and again, a real... I'm living proof that you don't have to stay within your own country. There are, the West Coast is the mecca as far as games publishers are concerned, but the UK and the rest of Europe and all over the world have huge games industries. It's not just limited to the West Coast. So set your sights high. If people need specialists in different countries, then don't just focus your efforts here. I'm here. If I can be here, you can be elsewhere too.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
That's why I said it was the last. So anyways, we want to give you some key points, but everyone's, we gave 10 minutes exactly. We gave a lot of information to you guys, but some of the key things is recognize your expertise and focus. Is actually be honest with yourself. Like, what is it you want to do? Don't. It's kind of like you got to be laser focused. Like I want to go into graphics, I want to go into production, whatever it is, because that will give you some kind of track to follow. If you have too many, it's easy to get distracted, right? The other thing is research your leads. We've talked about a bunch of different websites. If you're a developer, there's gdc.org, which is Game Developers Conference. That's something that has a lot of resources. I mean, actually, I just talked to some guy up at the booth. He was just showing his portfolio, and I was telling him that Capcom's a publisher. We're like Sony Studios, whereas the independent movie companies, production companies, makes the movies. So he needs to talk to the development company that makes DMC, which is Ninja Theory, or Spark, which is Lost Planet 3. They're the ones who hire the creative people. But research your leads. The other thing we talked about was HR, right? So a lot of times, unfortunately, when a job is posted, it's kind of, the job's already taken. So you got to jump on that. Just bookmark. If there's certain companies you want to work with, just bookmark it, check it every day. Go straight to their HR listing, because it'll probably be listed there first before it's on Craigslist, Monster, or anything else. Networking. Network. It really is who you know, or who you know, or who you know. LinkedIn, Facebook, anything. You already heard a couple stories like Mike here, just talking to somebody in the most obscure way, right? We have, like I said, there's been many wonderful experiences where people that we have talked to 1 year, next year, or a year later, and they're already in the biz, and they're helping other people. Seek a mentor. So the thing is, if you can find somebody in the business, that is a direct hit. But maybe if it's not in the business, seek somebody who has some life experiences, right? Somebody who is in very similar to what you're interested in, even if it's not directly in video games. The advice that they will give will help you save yourself from some of the pitfalls and accidents and wasted times that you would have done on your own. And then be proactive, just like Christine said. Yes, I can. Be brave. I too have my story, because when I started as the art director, I didn't know anything. I didn't know Photoshop. I could barely turn a Mac on, right? But I told them, yeah, sure, no problem. And then that first month, I was in there probably about midnight, 1 o'clock every single day, and they're like, wow, that guy's really working hard. What I was doing, I was reading the manual, trying to learn how to use Quark, trying to use Photoshop. Be brave, just go for it. It's like, unfortunately, nothing's going to be handed to you. But if you have the passion, follow your passion. That's what you need. Believe in yourself. Okay, so we're going to open up real quick some QA. We'll have a couple questions, maybe 5 or so. We have time for that, right? So, sir in the hat, and anybody on the panel, we can all answer.
Met fan. Yeah. I believe.
Hi, I'm a published writer from Digital, and I do events and board games and card games and stuff on my work. And I'd like to know how I might be able to get my works and such licensed if I can't get into the industry itself.
License as in the game?
Yeah, as you get into the
Who wants to take this one?
Good question.
That's a good question.
I'll certainly try.
1, 2, 1, 2. Bingo calling. I can certainly try. Gamma Sutra is a fantastic website to find people with the right skills to put you in the right direction. So imagine there's a programmer out there that's looking for a guy like you, and there's a guy like you looking for a programmer out there. So the best thing to do would make it a collaborative effort. So try and make sure you put the feelers out and try and get all of the people with the right skills and do it as a solo effort. Again, I know I keep plugging that green light effort, but if you can do something by yourself and get something to a prototype stage, throw it on Kickstarter or throw it on Greenlight, jobs are, as we say in the UK, jobs are good.
Yeah, you got the website? It's Gamma Sutra.
Yeah,
not Kama Sutra.
Yes, yeah.
That's a whole other panel in industry where we're not experts in.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's a whole host of other, again, I'm not too close to the world of development, but there are a whole host of development sites out there that are looking for great creative people like yourself that don't necessarily have the writing skills but have the technical background. So my advice to you would be collaborate.
Yeah. Come on up, I got a Street Fighter Cross Tech and Launch t-shirt for you, okay? All right, any other questions? Here, sir. Now everybody has questions. Okay, thank you.
It seems that New York is pretty low, minimal video game jobs. Would you guys recommend moving to California if it's really...
Mark wants to answer that.
Being that I worked in one of the only video game industry, video game publisher, designer, developer, they do everything out of the Soho office, so that's like main headquarters. There's about 3 core majors here. I was fortunate enough to, as Francis had mentioned, start trolling every single game developer's career listing. So I went to another good website is GameDevMap.com. That is GameDevMap.com, all one word. That will give you the listings and specific developer, publisher information from every video game company around the world. So, yes.
I was just going to say, we also work closely with agencies that are also based out in New York, which work with not just Capcom, but a lot of other big companies like EA, Square Enix, I don't know, Activision. So if you want to just get the foot in the door, you don't have to necessarily work for a developer or a publisher. You can start off on the agency side and create, if you're going to be a designer, create ads and marketing plans for them, or you can create promotional products. Like I know we work with a company called IRT, which is in record time. They actually created, they produced the Darkstalker hats and Okami hats and a bunch of other things that you're going to see in the future for future events. So, like Francis said, is research your leads and just figure out, what kind of agencies are in your area that specialize in the entertainment industry that you want to be
There's
in.
marketing agencies such as Amirati, which is a company we use for Street Fighter 4. I mean, they're all based in New York. And they work on the video game product, and that's also a way in. If you can find something peripheral, but you have that experience, you're in. That's one thing I actually want to bring up. Somebody had mentioned, it is a very small industry, so when you're in, you're in. So, yeah, it's kind of like for life. Our other panel is how to get out of video game business, right?
It's like a video game game.
But, okay, actually here's a t-shirt. But the thing is, everyone knows everybody. And the thing is, once you get in, you get credit. But also, what's bad about that is like it's the little pond, is you really got to make sure of what you do, your work experience, and your reputation. Because I got to tell you, it's a small biz. Like, you guys going to hire that guy? Oh my God, right? That kind of stuff really happens all the time. Whatever you do, you got to think about the whole, not just the company's going to know what you did, the whole industry will know what you did. But if you excel, people are going to want you.
I don't want you to get discouraged from moving to California. I moved to California, and like Lon, I drove across the country. You gotta do it. Someone has to see, everyone needs to see the country that they live in, and everyone needs to see everything. California's great. If you want to go, go. If you want to stay, you can do other things like Liz just said. So,
okay, thank you. One more.
I was wondering, I can't really find a lot of information on this, but I know it's really difficult to break into the concept art field.
He's talking about concept art. I got 1 minute. So that's what I was talking about, is find out the developer of these games. So for example, Ninja Theory is DMC. They're in Texas? No.
They're based in Cambridge in the UK.
Texas, UK, it's the same thing. They talk funny down there too. Anyway, but you know, then there's Spark, which is in Los Angeles. But those are the people. You go to those developer houses, you talk to their creative director. That's where you submit your resumes and all that. And Capcom Vancouver, they talk funny up there too. But anyways, so I'm sorry, we're being forced out, but we will hang out a little bit outside, talk to you guys. Come on up to the Capcom booth. We'll talk to you some more. Thank you, and good luck. Good luck.